Hey guys, today I'm gonna very quickly cover snare tuning in general. It's kind of a dark art. So what I have here is the snare off of the DW kit, and it's got a silent stroke head on it from Remo. So I'm just gonna loosen off the heads. These mesh heads are designed for it to have a good version of the bounce that you get from a head, and similar tone, but a fraction of the volume. So the volume is down maybe 20% of what an actual head would be, maybe even less. So it's not exactly the same as a normal head, but it's very similar, and I don't really have a snare that I want to put a Mylar head on. Mylar is the material that normal heads are made out of. So what you saw me do there just a second ago was loosen off these lugs. Just took the tension off them, got them loose enough that my fingers can open them, and now what I'm doing is I'm loosening them all to the point that they let go. You'll notice that I didn't loosen them in a row. Instead, I loosened them parallel to each other. It's a good habit to be in. It's something that you're going to want to do when you're tuning up the head as well. Sometimes you see people using drills with special snare attachments on them to open off the head. And you know what, that works for taking a head off. It's not likely to do damage. It's very likely to do damage if you use a battery drill to put on your heads, and I'll explain why in a second. So I've got a little bit of dust around the edges here. I'm just going to try and dust that off, and what I have inside is finely sieved dust. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. I'm going to try and show you. See all that lint inside? Because I'll stand down and look at you like this. Because the inside of the top of the head is mesh, it lets dust into it, kind of sieves it through, and then the dust starts to collect inside. So after a couple of months I need to take the heads off just to get that dust out, because it drives me insane. So that's why I'm taking this head off, and I'm going to go outside to clear this dust out, because there's no point in dropping it on my floor in here. It's already dusty enough. Alright, back in a sec. Okay, so it's all cleaned out now. It was really disgusting. So while you're at this point, you can just check that your bearing edge is all clean and there's nothing stuck to it. No dinge has gone out of it. You want to make sure that it's nice and smooth, because that's what will transfer the tone from the head that you're hitting into the wood of the shell. And damage on your bearing edge is never a good thing. So that's a cleaned out snare. Put that down on the stand. Now at this point I can put any head I want on. I'm going to put back on my mesh head, because we use it here for lessons. Sometimes, just to make sure that all of your screws are going back into the same place, I will take out one of the screws, and it's usually the one to the left of the snare throw, and that way, so I take this one out, all the rest of them are left in. That way I know that all the screws that I took out are going back into the exact same threads. That is not necessary. It's just it stops you having any little problems with putting the threads back in. If the threads are not like machined perfectly, you're not running the risk of taking a screw that has a slightly different thread that worked in the thread it was in, and trying to force it into another thread. Now, the likelihood of that happening with modern drums, it's slim. But it's a good habit, I guess, that doesn't do any harm and can only help. So what I'm doing now is by hand I'm putting back in my rods, my tension rods, or my lugs, or whatever you want to call them, into my lugs, and I'm hand tensioning, and this is a very safe way of doing it. If I do this with battery drill, if I do this with a key, a fast tune key, you can't feel if you're in the right thread. So there's a greater chance that you're going to do damage to your threads just by forcing it on with speed, as opposed to using the feel of your fingers and using a little bit of finesse in getting the thread started. It's always a good idea. So you want to get it to what I call finger tight, and you have to understand all of these are pulling down in the same direction. So once I tighten them all, I have to go around them again and return them all a little bit, because as all of these pull down together, the first one isn't tight anymore because the other ones have tensions down on the rim. So basically what's happening is these are pulling in this direction, and this rim is pulling in that direction, and it's pulling the edge of the head in that direction and causing tension in the middle. Now, tuning wise, this is what I was referring to when I said the dark art. Tuning is about even tension, and it's about personal preference. You can have one drum make two completely separate sounds because of tuning, and they're both in tune. There's not only one way to tune a drum. The way I'm about to show you is not the way, it's just a way, and it's the way I like to do it. So maybe again this is me being overly cautious, but I like to take my left hand and keep it at my starting point. That way I can't accidentally tune my starting point twice. So I'm going to put my key on, and I'm going to give it a half of a turn. Alright, 1/2 turn. I'm going to come parallel, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Okay, so I've done here and here, then I'm going to pop back here, I'm going to half turn it, I'm going to pop back here, half turn it, back here, half turn it, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm systematically making my way around the drum in order to put a half a turn on. And some people might say, Mike, that's not very many turns. It's not, but if you think about it, that's a half, so that's 1 turn, 1.5, 2 turns, 2.5, 3 turns, 3.5, 4 turns. Let me do that again. 5, 1, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4. I'm doing it wrong, but anyway, you get the idea. The reason I'm not going in a line, I'm not turning this one, then this one, then this one, is I call it saddling. And basically, the reason I call it saddling is because it gives the impression of a saddle on a horse. And what that's doing is the drum head is pulling down on the bearing edge. It's supposed to be equally on both sides. And if you have all of the tension done on one side and none on the other, it's going to pull the head way more down on that side, and it's going to unsaddle the head on the bearing edge. It's probably going to damage the brand new head you're putting on, so you're going to have it all stretched out on one side, so that means it's never going to get into tune again. And by unsaddling it like that, you're probably going to damage your snare drum itself a little bit. You might damage your bearing edge, you might damage your rim. All these things you don't want to happen. You want even tension all the way around. So that's why we're doing in kind of this star manner, like always parallel to the last thing you did. Now, sound wise, this is a silent stroke head, so you're not going to get much sound out of it. But we have good rebound. It's not so tight that it's like bzz, 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 like almost like an electronic kit mesh head where it helps you out too much. That's not far away from what you're going to get on a well-tuned Mylar head. I hope this was beneficial to you guys. One thing you might have noticed is on this lug and on this lug, I turned them a little bit more than the others, and the reason for that was there was an awful lot of play in these lugs, and tension is a big part of tuning. So if I'm feeling this lug's under pressure when I turn it a half a turn, this one is under pressure, this one's under pressure, this one's under pressure, this one's under pressure, this one is loose, like it needs 2.5 full turns before it gets the tension. Go on your feel more than on your mechanics, because it's very important that you feel that it's correct. You can buy tuners that detect the tone of each particular lug, but to be honest, nothing beats experience. Go out there and tune your drums, have fun with it, get it wrong a bunch of times, find what you like, just get good at it. Like it's something that you can only get better at by doing it. So that's one cleaned out snare, one happy drummer, and one more video in the bag. We're going to continue doing these until Thursday, and then on Friday we're going to be into the 1st of February. Our month challenge of doing a video a day in February will be successful, and I will probably never again upload daily because it's been tough. I'm not going to lie to you, it's been real challenging, and not very rewarding, in that there's not much reward in just shooting out videos as fast as you can, not getting a chance to make them with far more attention to detail, and maybe talk about them a little bit more and push them out to an audience. Maybe this would work if there was a couple of thousand people already subscribed to the channel, but with a small channel you can't just start shooting out videos every day and expect them to be seen. But you know what, thanks to everyone who has seen them. It's been great to get a bit of feedback and to see a little bit of movement on the channel, and movement in comments and likes and subscriptions and stuff like that. That's been great. Cool. I gotta go do the rest of my life now. Life is hard. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.